think you're still on route to speak the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Ms. Macapella.
Captain, I believe we were still talking about the Zondo Commission affidavit from Ms. Cholota and quoting yesterday's cross-examination in which you indicated that you did not have the statement with you in the United States, and you said that you cannot recall that you had said that. Is that correct?
No, I recall now. Yes.
But we can, for the purposes of this Exhibit 11, we can safely say that you stated, she asked at line 13 for her statement, and she stated that last time she also asked for the statement, and that you said that we have got that for you. At the very least, we can safely say that that is what happened. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, when we read this together with the email at PQ, in which the state prosecutor states to her that he shall ask the investigators to forward you the testimony and the affidavit to refresh your memory, would you say it was improper not to give her her statement as she requested for it?
I won't say it was improper, no.
Would you say that it was improper to inform her that you had questions related to the Zondo Commission and then you did not put any such affidavit before her?
I will also not say that is improper, no.
And so with those two things, are you then saying it is proper for an investigating officer to not put an affidavit or a statement or a document in front of a witness when that witness is going to be interviewed on that statement or document or affidavit?
If I can answer like this. Firstly, that affidavit wasn't taken by myself. We had additional questions to Ms. Cholota, and to place a statement that I did not obtain from a witness himself in front of her. And I'm not saying this is what happened, but to verify that the versions the witness will give will be the same. It can be that the statement aren't provided beforehand during question.
To verify that the statements are the same.
The versions that she provides.
The
yes.
versions are the same. It can be that the statement is not provided or placed before the witness.
Yes.
Is this proper practice?
You can't say proper, but it is practice sometimes, yes.
So it could be improper practice.
No, don't say that. No.
So it's proper practice?
No. It depends on the circumstance.
It's circumstantial.
Yes.
Right. And when you are comparing those two versions, how would you know that the version that is being given accords with the version that is in a testimony?
Well, when I have two affidavits, after the two affidavits, then it will be compared.
From your memory?
No, I do have the affidavit.
So you have the affidavit?
They already said I have it. It wasn't just on a hot copy, but it was with us.
And you were referencing the affidavit while she was talking?
I didn't understand the question.
You already had the affidavit, you say?
No, we had it long before. Yeah.
Long before. So while she was talking, you were comparing what she was saying with the affidavit that you had?
No, that I didn't.
So how were you comparing the two versions?
There wasn't two versions to compare.
Okay. but you were asking her about information in the Zondo Commission affidavit, but you had neither the Zondo Commission affidavit before yourself nor before her.
I would say we haven't even reached that stage yet.
Yes. Okay. Now, if I recall, your evidence, your cross-examination evidence yesterday was that you did not broach the topic of the right against self-incrimination with the witness while she was still a witness. Is that correct?
Yes, I said if I can recall, yes.
Now, can we turn to page 3 of Exhibit 11, line 5, please?
Which page?
Page 3, my lord. Line 5. If you could please read that into the record, Captain.
Okay, Brigadier Gerber. So at this stage, if you do at any stage, how could I say implicate yourself in any way, in anything? Mr. Lord, Brigadier Gerber, we will obviously then, but at this stage there is no reason for us to warn you. In terms of any judgment, judges' rules or criteria, that if you do incriminate yourself, we will stop you and we will give you the proper warning in terms of that. And then we will discuss the matter forward with you, because there is the three options. We can either, if you do implicate yourself, I do not know if you know what a 204 witness is.
We'll get to the 204 witness. So you confirm that the we that Brigadier Gerber is referring to there is yourself and Brigadier Gerber?
That will be correct, yes.
So when you say, or when you both say, we will obviously then, but at this stage there is no reason for us to warn you in terms of any judge's rules, but if you do incriminate yourself, we will stop you and we will give you the proper warning. Is that how it works?
Well, as I said, the emails that we had in our possession was already implicating yourself, but we wanted to use it as a witness.
Yes, but is that how it works? Does the witness first incriminate themselves, then you warn them that this statement is incriminatory to you?
No.
And so I put it to you, Captain, that the correct procedure or the proper procedure is to warn the witness that you have the right against self-incrimination. And then for the witness, having heard that, to then elect to incriminate or not incriminate themselves.
But according to what I read here, this is what exactly happened. She was warned according to section 204 that if she incriminates herself anytime, we will stop the interview.
That is not what section 204 states, and we will get to that. But I think right now we're still dealing with the right against self-incrimination. In your cross-examination yesterday, you indicated that you did not warn the witness as to the right to self-incrimination. So she did not know that if she says anything that incriminates her, that can be held against her. But what you're saying now is you always knew there was incriminating evidence against her, but yet you still did not tell her that she could incriminate herself.
Well, this transcript that was given is clear that we obviously did warn her before. If I mentioned that yesterday, that was my recollection.
Yesterday you said you did not warn her.
Well, that was my recollection, but you gave me a document now that says otherwise, so then I agree with what is in front of me.
Now, later on in that sentence, it says, then we will discuss the matter forward with you because there is 3 options. Which are the 3 options?
I'll stipulate the 3 options. So that either she can first speak to a legal advisor, or she can remain silent, or we continue with the warning of the 204.
With the warning of the 204.
Yeah.
I put it to you, Captain Kalitz, that the 3 options was that she first cooperates with you. Secondly, if she doesn't cooperate with you, you will use whatever incriminating evidence she has given you to charge her. And thirdly, if you use such incriminating evidence, she can elect to be a 204 witness. I put it to you that those were the three options. What do you say to that?
Totally incorrect.
What were the three options?
As I just mentioned.
Could you please repeat
I
that?
said it could be the three options.
Could you please repeat that?
Legal representation, remain silent,
Mhm.
or then the warning of a 204.
Now, can we get to the 204? Because it seems to us that we've got a different understanding as to what a 204 is. Could I request that the captain be provided with the Criminal Procedure Act? A copy, please. Now, could we first start by confirming that the 204 witness that is being referred to on page 8 is in relation to what is stated in line 19, section 204 of the Criminal Procedure Act?
Yes.
And so if we turn to section 204, the title there is Incriminating Evidence by Witness for Prosecution. 1. Whenever the prosecutor at criminal proceedings informs the court that any person called as a witness on behalf of the prosecution will be required by the prosecution to answer questions which may incriminate such witness with regard to an offense specified by the prosecutor, the court, if satisfied that such a witness is otherwise a competent witness for prosecution, shall inform the witness. Now we can stop there. We're going to go further, but let's stop there. At no stage in this paragraph is there any mention of an investigating officer or an official of the Hawks. It is only the prosecutor and the court and the witness. Do you agree?
In this paragraph, it doesn't mention any yes.
In the paragraph of the CPA
Well, the
that I
paragraph
just
is-
read.
Sorry, excuse me. Well, it mentions the prosecutor in the criminal proceedings.
Yes, and that the prosecutor has to inform the court that a person that has been called as a witness will be required to answer questions which may incriminate the witness, and then that it is the court then, once the court is satisfied, that informs the witness that they are obliged to give evidence at the proceedings in question as a Section 204 witness. At no point in any of this is there any mention that the investigating officer can elect to change or give the option to a witness as to whether or not they can be a 204 witness. Is my interpretation of that correct? You're free to offer your own interpretation.
I don't interpret it like that.
And how would you interpret that?
Well, the decision is made by the investigating team according to the law. At the end, if a witness will incriminate himself, then we will warn the witness, and there's a pro forma form explaining the reasons and explaining what a 204 witness is to that specific person. Then if the person decides to give an affidavit, we will continue after the 204. Now that statement will be presented to the prosecutor after it's been taken out. And then the prosecutor will make a decision.
I put it to you, Captain, that that interpretation is completely incorrect if one reads the CPA correctly. I also put it to you that the information that was given to Ms. Cholota in relation to the Section 204 witness was completely incorrect.
If you say so.
Now, can we read from 18, line 18, when Ms. Cholota states that you can explain further, please? Page 3, line 17, my apologies.
Okay, the 204 witness is, if you are involved in anything and you come forth with it, we take a statement in terms of Section 204 of the Criminal Procedure Act.
If you are involved in anything and you come forth with it, we take a statement in terms of Section 204. Could you please read further, Captain?
Act Okay, Mr. Lota, Brigadier Gerber, which then still allows you to be a witness for the state, bearing in mind that you have to become forthcoming with your part in the process. Mr. Lota, okay. Do I continue?
Yes, please.
Brigadier Gerber, if the court finds your testimony is truthful, they will absolve you from any wrongdoing in the case. But your testimony is important in that aspect. All right. If we proceed and it becomes apparent that the 204 route will not work, or you are unwilling to go that route with us, obviously we will have to explore other avenues. Then in terms of maybe viewing you in a different light as a suspect in the matter, which is not at the current stage what we are doing.
Please continue.
Lota, okay. Brigadier Gerber, all right. So this interview will depend on how you approach us. Mr. Lota, Brigadier Gerber, and what we get from you out of the interview.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain. Now, line 10, page 4, line 10, 11, 13, and 14. I put it to you, Captain Kalitz, that those are clear indications of improper and unconstitutional conduct on the part of state officials, yourselves and Brigadier Gerber.
No.
The proviso that appears at line 10 states that this interview will depend on how you approach us. Line 13, and what we get from you out of the interview. Am I understanding correctly that what was being communicated to Ms. Cholota was that if you, and I quote from your previous testimony, cooperate with us, then we will not turn you into a Section 204 witness. But that will depend on how you approach us and what we get from you out of the interview. What do you say to that?
No, do not agree.
And what was hoped that you would get out of Ms. Cholota?
The truth.
Which would be?
Explanations on documentation presented to her.
Okay. That would be the truth.
Yes.
The explanations.
No.
Would any explanation suffice, or the explanation that you wanted to hear?
No, ma'am. A plain explanation.
A plain explanation. Captain Collins, I put it to you that the original plan in going to the United States to interview Ms. Cholota was as follows. Firstly, to get her to agree to an interview under the guise of the State Capture Commission, but in fact not. Second, to set a trap for her to incriminate herself. And thirdly, to then turn her into a Section 204 witness with the promise of absolving her in court. What do you say to that?
I do not agree.
Now, with regard to the first one, to get her to agree to an interview under the guise of state capture, at all material times in the communication, she was repeatedly reassured that her testimony is required in line with her testimony at the State Capture Commission, correct?
Well, in line, yes.
But at no point, and as we will show, in any of your questioning, did you in fact question her about the State Capture Commission or her testimony?
We didn't get to that part.
You didn't get to that part, and so it is correct. You did not get to question her.
No, we didn't.
Now, is that proper to promise a witness that if they tell you something, then you can ensure that they are absolved in court by the judge? Is that correct? Is that proper?
No, we can't ensure that. The decision lies with the prosecutor.
Now, was that what was explained to Ms. Charlotta? Because that is not what it looks like in the reading of what was stated to her.
And if you look at the first line on page 4,
Yes.
for me it says that exactly. If the court finds your testimony is truthful, they will absolve you from any wrongdoing in the case. But your testimony is important in that aspect, all right.
Thank you, Captain Collins. Now, unfortunately for yourselves and Brigadier Gerber, not only did Ms. Charlotta not incriminate herself, she also did not incriminate Ace Makashile either, correct?
No, she did not.
And that was not the part that was hoped for.
No, we can't say that is what was hoped for.
What?
We will show that
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
That is not what was hoped for. No, sorry. Apologize.
Thank you, Brigadier Captain. Now, can we turn to page 9, line 14 and line 21? At line 14, you assure Ms. Chalota that you will hear it is then general questions. If you do not want to answer, you do not answer. Do you understand? You see that portion?
I do.
And so you assured her, first of all, that these were going to be general questions, and then you also assured her that if she does not want to answer, she does not answer. Correct?
Yes.
And 2 lines further from there, you repeat that this is general questions, and it is just to get a background of everything. Do you see that?
Which line would that be?
That would be line 18 and 19.
Yes, I see that.
Now, where I would like for you to read into the record, Captain, would be lines 1, 2, and 3 after line 20. Or is that line 21, 22, and 23?
Yes. Captain Collins, and as I said, then I am going to draft the affidavit. Obviously, I will not be able to print it and give it to you to sign, but it will be a process. But you can email it. But you can email it to me. I will read it through, and then interview this.
And who said, but you can email it to me? That was Ms. Chalota.
Sorry, excuse me. Yes, that was Ms. Chalota.
So you informed her that you're going to draft an affidavit, but that you're not going to be able to print it or give it to her to sign.
Well, that was that specific day when we started.
That was that specific day.
Well, I suppose so.
Now, with this, if we just hold on to this, and then we jump to page 30, 30, line 17, 17. Line 17. Please read that into the record.
Captain Collins, okay, this is very short and brief. I will put more meat to it in the affidavit.
I will put more meat into it in the affidavit.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, it will basically mean the questions is in short, in general, always when we interview.
Yes.
And through the interview, more clarity will come up regarding a specific point.
Yes.
Because questions aren't asked chronologically, if I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, all the answers will be taken with, and then on a specific point, if there's more things said in different times, then that point will be discussed.
Is that what was meant with
No,
that?
that is what is meant, yes.
I put it to you, Captain Cullis, that that is not what was meant with that. What was meant with that was that the answers that she gave were brief, as you stated in your previous line, and that you will put more meat to it, meaning you will add more information to her brief answers.
Ma'am, whether she answered me in short or in long, the point is the affidavit had to be taken at the end if she agreed on it. And if I put more meat, as you call it, and it is as it mentioned here, and as I explained, if she did not agree, if you read it further, if she did not agree on what was written in the affidavit, it would have been rectified according to her.
Why would it need to be rectified?
Well, sometimes a thing is written that the witness or the person aren't happy with the way we said it. That's how it is. That's the purpose of an interview or statement taking. And the purpose of a person signing the affidavit. If she's not satisfied or a person is not satisfied how it was written, then it's there to be changed.
Okay. Now, Captain Collins, in the affidavit that was presented to the Constitutional Court, as well as in the affidavit that was presented to the High Court, as well as in the affidavit that was presented in the bail proceedings, time and time again, noted that Ms. Chalota kept questioning the relevance of your questions. Do you recall that?
I recall that, yes.
Now, can we please look at the instances where she questioned the relevance? Let's start with page 54. No, sorry, not page 54. My apologies. Can we start at page 17, 17? No, page 16, my apologies, no, page 16, line 20. So the conversation preceding this is that you ask her, or she's asked what she's studying and where she's studying, and then she indicates that she's at this institution, BAU. Now, can we read from line 20, please?
Can I start with Captain Collins?
Brigadier Gerber.
Line
20,
sorry,
page 16.
Page 14.
Apologies.
Brigadier Gerber, do the Free State Province have an agreement with BAU that you know of? That it is, that you only applied here, because there were other students here as well for Free State, from Free State. Mr. Lothar, I think that should be answered by the Director General in the office of the interviews.
Is it your opinion that this question was relevant for the witness?
Yes.
A question about other students at the institution that she was studying at?
Yeah, at that stage, yes.
Okay. And then page 17, line 10, from Captain Carlitz.
Captain Carlos, did you apply to more than one education indistinct? Only that we already answered. Okay, who are paying for your accommodation during your studies in the USA? Mr. Lothar, accommodation, I applied for financial assistance from FSPG. Brigadier Gerber, what does FSPG stand for? Mr. Lothar, Free State Provincial Government. Captain Collins, and they are paying. Okay, let me ask, indistinct, maybe we will get to that question. Mr. Lothar, Captain Collins, okay, how long is your studies? Mr. Lothar, 4 years, it is a 4 years degree. Brigadier Gerber, okay, now to come back to the previous question. Mr. Lothar, Captain Collins, you applied for financial assistance from the Free State Provincial Government. Mr. Lothar, correct. Captain Collins, okay, and that covers for the whole 3 years. Mr. Lothar, for the whole intervenes. Captain Collins, whole 4 years, sorry. Mr. Lothar, all 4 years, but the reply was they will assist me for as long as they have funds. So they have every right to say we do not have funds to assist. If I remember the letter very well. Captain Collins, but up to this stage you have been funded by the Free State Government. Mr. Lothar, yes, they did give me a certain amount for stipend. I requested for stipend, I requested for books, I requested for accommodation.
Thank you, Captain. Now, what does all this have to do with anything? What was the reason behind this line of questioning?
Through the engagement of Mr. Lothar for where she was, it was determined she's studying abroad.
Yes.
So we got hold of the resident policy for students that would study abroad.
Yes.
There are certain specifications on the policy for you to qualify as
Yes.
a student.
Yes.
That is the reason why these questions were asked.
And what are those specifications?
You have to be younger than 25.
Yes.
You have to have, if I don't remember all, but you have to have a history of studies.
Mm-hmm.
can't recall all of them.
Okay, and this had to do with the asbestos contract.
Not to say in person,
And this had to do with the Zondo Commission.
not to say as well.
What did this have to do with anything?
Something we identified that we needed clarity on.
Right. Now, I put it to you, Captain Kalitz, that this line of questioning was in fact one of the ways in which you were trying to get Ms. Chaloda to incriminate herself. What do you say to that?
I do not agree.
Now, if we can then, in line still with the irrelevant questions, if we can get to page 22, at the very bottom, line 4, please, starting with Captain Kalitz.
Page 22.
Page 22, at the very bottom.
Captain Collins, the whole amount. Ms. Chaloda, the whole amount. They said even if I failed one module, I am possible for paying them. Responsible for paying them, according to the contract. Captain Collins, okay, who resides with you at the same address during your studies? Should I continue?
Yes, please.
Ms. Chaloda, I have a roommate. Captain Collins, a roommate? May I have his name? Ms. Chaloda, I do not think he is part of this. I do not think he should be part of this as a roommate. It is just somebody. Captain Collins, no, okay, may I ask you this thing? Ms. Chaloda, Brigadier Gerber, is he sharing the cost of the rent, etc. with you? Ms. Chaloda, we do have arrangements, yes. Brigadier Gerber, is he also a student of what? Ms. Chaloda, I do not think that is relevant for this. Brigadier Gerber, may I ask sorry for the personal question? Ms. Chaloda, Brigadier Gerber, are you in a relationship with him? Ms. Chaloda, with him, I do not think that is also related to this investigation, to the part of the interview.
Thank you, Captain. How was this relevant?
To what, ma'am?
To anything?
Firstly, we identified something is wrong regarding the bursary.
Yes.
Does not say it came up during the investigation of the asbestos contract. So there was irregularities according to us, according to the awarding of the bursary.
Yes.
So for me, that is something to explore to find out how that worked.
Okay.
Okay, and that is why these questions were asked.
Right. And just to go back to the original question, was this an interview with a suspect in relation to the bursary irregularities, or was this an interview with a witness in relation to the asbestos contract and the Zondo Commission?
The questions about the asbestos contract would have come later. This is an introductory. Firstly, to calm a witness, to put her on at ease, that we are not there as we're not there, I don't know. We're not there to argue, if I can say it like that. So, as I said, this is something identified during the investigation of the asbestos, the reasons why she went to the US. And the bursary was identified, and there were questions relating to the awarding thereof.
Yes. I put it to you, Captain Collins, that there was in fact no irregularity with the bursary, nor was there any relevance to this line of questioning of the witness. What do you say to that?
Also, your opinion.
My opinion.
Yes.
Thank you, Captain. Now, if we turn back to page 21, line 30. Page 21. Line 20 with Brigadier Gerber.
Brigadier Gerber, what are they not covering? Ms. Chaloda, the tuition fee, the flights, the fights, and I also asked for flights coming and coming out, but I do not see them approving them. They just said stipend and accommodation. Brigadier Gerber, okay, and who is paying for your studies? Is the university? Intervenes. Mr. Lothar, I got a scholarship. Brigadier Gerber, a scholarship? Mr. Lothar, from the university. Captain Collins, you say it does not cover your flights. Mr. Lothar, yes. They do not cover flights. What else they do not? I am not sure if I still have the letter. I requested for a couple of things, but they only approved accommodation, stipend and books, I think. Captain Collins, but no class fees. Mr. Lothar, no, it is a scholarship. Captain Collins, scholarship. Mr. Lothar, they are not covering for my fees.
Thank you, Captain. Was there something irregular with the scholarship she received?
According to us, there was questions to be asked.
Questions to be asked from whom?
Well, we already asked it from the Director General who approved the scholarship.
Yes.
So now we ask it from the person who was awarded the scholarship.
No, I think perhaps we're misunderstanding. What we read before we spoke about this was the financial assistance from the Free State government. In what you've read now, it's the scholarship that she's telling you she's received from the American university.
Excuse me.
So my question is, was there any irregularities with the scholarship she received from the American university?
Not that we know of, no.
And so it was a valid scholarship?
Well, she applied and it was approved.
And it was approved. Was there any questioning of the university as to how she was awarded the scholarship?
We tried, but we didn't get any feedback.
You tried, but you did not get any feedback. Now, I put it again to you, Captain Kalitz, that the reason for this entire exercise was to get Ms. Cholota to incriminate herself or to uncover some type of irregularity in relation to her scholarship that could then be used against her to pressure her into incriminating Ace Nakashu. What do you say to that?
I do not agree.
And you said the point of this exercise was?
To clarify certain things.
What is the reason that you did not inform her that you were going to be asking any of these questions?
There's not a reason for that, no?
What is the reason that you informed her that you would be inquiring about the Zondo Commission when that was actually not what you were going to be inquiring about?
Well, if I recall correctly, that was not me itself.
It was?
General Gerber and Affidavit.
Now, speaking about General Gerber, actually, if I recall your cross-examination from yesterday, you were quite emphatic that you conducted the interview and General Gerber was just walking in and out of the interview. Do you recall that?
I did not say in and out.
But you stated that he was not present in the interview.
No, I never said that.
It was my line of questioning in relation to there being intimidating officers in the interview
My Lord,
with them.
if I may object, that is not at this point what his response had been. That was the line of questioning. However, it indicated that he had been the conductor of the interview and that Brigadier Gerber had played a limited role, but not that he was in and out or not present.
Yes, that is correct, Ms. Capella.
And so, if he played a limited role, this transcript clearly indicates he played quite the role, not a limited role.
Let it be so, but I also want to emphasize
Yes.
that, as I said in the beginning, there are certain things missing in this transcript.
Yes.
So, I can't say this is the whole interview.
Yes. But if there were things that were missing from this interview, would those things not be pointing to the limitedness of Brigadier Gerber? Why would they be pointing to him being present at each and every question?
Well, he's there now.
Yes, he is.
And it seems as if I can't say this is a complete version of the interview. I also can't say that some things were taken out.
And so, was there a time at which he was not playing a role in this interview?
He was present the whole time.
Exactly. But yesterday, during cross-examination, the indication that was given was that he was not, and that you were conducting the majority of the interview.
I was the main investigator. Whether he's there and also asked questions, he's part of the investigation team.
Suffice it to say, Captain Collins, that was not the indication that was given during cross-examination.
Then I understand, but when he was present, you can't just sit there, you ask questions. That's all I can say about it.
Thank you, Captain. Now, let's start with the multiple attempts by yourself and Brigadier Gerber to get Ms. Chilota to incriminate Ms. Magashule. Mr. Magashule.
No, ma'am, you can't make that assumption.
Let's start with the defense's position that what I am about to cross-examine you on indicates instances of yourself and Brigadier Gerber attempting to influence the witness to incriminate Mr. Magashule.
We never try to influence it. We
Indeed.
wanted a clear answer on a document that is clear for a straight answer. That is
Yeah.
plain and simple.
Page 42, please, Captain. At the very bottom, line 1, Brigadier Gerber,
The line 1,
line 1,
line 20.
line 21.
Brigadier Gerber, did you know the Premier prior to your appointment on a personal level or something like that? Ms. Chilota, not on a personal level. As the Premier, yes, I knew him. I would also ask just like everyone else. Captain Collins, okay, we know this is one, but I want to hear. Obviously, Mr. Magashule was the Premier during your period. Ms. Chilota, yes. Captain Collins, the only Premier, Ms. Chilota, I worked with, he left me there. I worked with Premier Ntombela, Sisi Ntombela, until I left. She is still the Premier. Captain Collins, okay, you mentioned this. I wanted to know, was part of your duties dealing with the diary of the Premier, and if so, explain exactly what, but we discussed that.
Thank you, Captain. Now, if we could please then move to page 53 with this in mind. Right at the top, line 2.
Captain Collins, okay, I think you already answered this, but I am then going to ask you, what was your relationship with Magashule before your employment at the Premier's office? Ms. Chilota, what was your relationship with Captain Collins? Did you know him beforehand or Brigadier Gerber? And on what level? How did you intervene? Ms. Chilota, of course I knew him. Captain Collins, no, but in person. I am not talking, everyone knows who is Mr. Magashule. Ms. Chilota, Captain Collins, everyone knows that. I am talking now in a personal capacity. If is he a friend of your family? Is he a friend of yours? Something like that. Brigadier Gerber, because he also was from Paris. Captain Collins, yeah, he's also from Paris. Brigadier Gerber, did you know him in that capacity when you were in Paris or how? Just trying to understand. Ms. Chilota, yes, I knew him while I was still in Paris. Captain Collins, so you met him there previously. Ms. Chilota, the Premier, everyone just like everyone else who could meet him everywhere. Captain Collins, okay. No, okay, understand that. You attended some of the meetings or whatever he held in Paris, so you saw him. Ms. Chilota, okay, Captain Collins, okay, that part I understand. Ms. Chilota, Captain Collins, but did you meet him in person in then intervenes? Brigadier Gerber, like being friends with his one Tsepu or somebody like that, through that process, or his brother or his uncles, something like that, you know. Did you know? Intervenes Captain Collins, not in a personal capacity. Ms. Chilota, I know him, but I do not understand which capacity you are looking for, but I knew him before I worked at his office. Captain Collins, okay. Ms. Chilota, I met, is that really necessary? Brigadier Gerber, yes, we would like to know, please. Ms. Chilota, I am not comfortable answering that now. Brigadier Gerber. Why? Mr. Lotta, because I say so. I know him as I knew him before I worked at at his office. Captain Carlos, but it is a simple question to ask is how did you know him? Mr. Lotta, how would you say how did I know him? For an example. Captain Carlos, I would say, listen, he was friends with my father. I met him when he visited my father, for example, or I visited his house when I went with his son or something like that. Mr. Lotta, I do not know how to explain it in that way, but I knew Mr. Magashule before I worked at his office. Captain Collins, so you spoke to him in person before you worked there. Can I ask you that then? Mr. Lotta, correct.
Thank you, Captain. Now, what we've just read, would that be an example of the pressing and pushing that you alluded to in your affidavit?
Well, you can say that.
So you were pressing her and pushing her into saying that she knew Mr. Magashule before she started working at the Premier's office.
Well, we're repeating the same question each time.
Now, if we look at, despite the fact that she stated she's not comfortable with that line of questioning, is that really necessary? And that she knew him as any other person who knew the Premier. Still, there was a further push for more information.
That is how interviews are conducted.
Thank you, Captain. Now, at page 55, she asks you, how would you say I know him? And then you give her an example that I put to you is you coaching the witness as to saying what it is that you want her to say. What do you say to that?
I do not agree with that.
I would say, listen, he was friends with my father. I met him when he visited my father, for example, or I visited his house when I went with his son, or something like that. In other words, give us something like that, correct?
It was an example because she said she didn't understand what we was doing.
Yes. My apologies.
No.
Now, in the FTI consulting report, if you will recall, one of the statements that convinced the United States, or rather that we allege convinced the United States, was that there was a relationship between the Premier and his PA that went beyond the normal duties of a PA. Do you recall that statement? Perhaps we can go to it. Just to refresh your memory. It was on page 1 of the FTI memorandum, right at the bottom, where it stated, we found that Magashule and Cholota had a relationship that stretched beyond the normal duties of a personal assistant, and that she was entrusted with private matters of the PA. Do you remember that?
I remember that it was, yes,
Yes.
you mentioned.
I put it to you, Captain Kalitz, that this pressing and pushing and line of questioning was to establish that there was a relationship between Ms. Cholota and Mr. Magashule that went beyond the normal duties of a PA. What do you say to that?
Most probably, yes.
Most probably, yes. Of what relevance would that be to the Asbestos contract? That she had a relationship with him over and above being a PA. What relevance would that be to the Asbestos contract?
Well, that would be the fact that additional tasks were given to her outside her job description.
And that is what you wish to establish with this line of questioning.
Yes, basically.
And so despite the fact that she stated that she did not know him on a personal level, and that, I quote, just like everyone else who met him there, you stated, no, okay, I understand that. But you were looking for something else.
Well, basically the line of questioning, if I read it like this, it means was she contacted afterwards, after hours, something like that. doing something for the Premier outside the normal duties.
Yes. Now, in fact, you actually do ask her that. If we can go there, please, if I can just find that line of questioning. Yes.
Bottom of 43, top of 44.
Page 43 at the very bottom, that would be line 25.
Yes. Should I read it?
Yes, please, Captain.
Captain Collins, okay. Okay, did you ever do any other duties for the Premier that is stipulated, that is not stipulated in your job description? And if so, provide more details. Ms. Chilota, they are not stipulated in, that are not stipulated in the question mark. Captain Collins, like your, and then intervened. Ms. Chilota, job description, question mark. Captain Collins, yeah, we can call it job description, your daily duties. Ms. Chilota, not that I know of aspects, not that I know of, except the fact that the job description, you do not work according to job description. You go an extra mile for the office. But there is no other, any other extra and unnecessary thing that I did for the Premier, unless if I do not understand your question. Captain Collins, yeah, no. I think none of you fully understand what I'm asking, but if I can just ask you when I am talking about additional duties, other duties. Ms. Chilota, okay. Captain Collins, it is not work related. Ms. Chilota, no. Captain Collins, outside maybe stupid. Outside maybe stupid, maybe when you are sick or whatever, he phones you to go and get him medicine, something like that. Ms. Chilota, it is also my duty to make an appointment for him at the doctor. Not to go and get the medicine, but I will make an appointment for him if my Jeanette is not there.
Thank you, Captain. So you ask the witness if there is anything that she would do beyond her job description. She says, not that I know of, except that you will go an extra mile for the office, but there's no any other extra unnecessary thing that I did for the Premier. But then you go further and you say, yeah, no, I think none of you fully understand what I'm talking about. So the answer that she's just given you is not the answer that you want. No, I don't think you understand what I fully mean. And then you go and you state it. You say, it is not work related. And she responds, no, but then you go on. And you say, outside, maybe stupid, maybe when you are sick or whatever, and the phone rings and you go and get him his medicine. And she says, it's my duty to make an appointment for him, but not to go and get the medicine. 3 times she indicates to you that your line of questioning is incorrect. She did not go any further for the Premier than she needed to in terms of her job description. But each time that she says that, you say, no, I don't think that you understand what I mean. Is that proper?
Well, it's a line of questioning, yes.
Is it a proper line of questioning?
It happens.
Is it something that happens that should happen?
Also depends on the circumstances.
Thank you, Captain. Now, at different times in this affidavit, and I will show briefly, I will take you to those pages. Ms. Chilota makes mention of about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 officials that she either reported to within the Office of the Premier, or that were part of the Office of the Premier, or that also lent support to Mr. Magashule in his capacity as the Premier. That would be the Director General. He is listed or spoken about at page 28. I won't take you to all of them, but perhaps we can just mark those. At page 28, right at the top, when she's explaining that she does not go straight to the Premier with anything, because there's a Director General in the office, she quotes, and we have the Chief of Staff in the office. That is lines 1 to 5, my lord. And then she states that if there's anything that I need to discuss with them, I discuss with them first. If it is anything that they can solve, they solve it. Anything that needs the attention of the Premier, we will then try and locate the Premier. So she's mentioned 2 officials within the Office of the Premier that also have direct access or direct contact with the Premier. Director General, Chief of Staff. Now, we'll just hold that for a minute. And then at page 38, she mentions the former PA. So the individual that trained her, that would be at page 38. Right in the middle at line 16, you say you made to the PA then. Who was that then? And then she responds, it was Ma'am Maria. What is her surname again? Ma'am Maria. We called her Ma'am Maria. That was the then PA to the Premier, Mr. Magashule. Then at page 46, right at the top, line 4, she identifies a 4th member of the Premier's office, an assistant appointment secretary, who you inquire who will that be, and then she states that I worked with Ma'am Carla Malemela, Miss Malemela. That's the 4th individual that she identifies. And then at page 48, right at the top, line 2, she says we will get whatever agency that is appointed from the Chief Financial Officer's office. So I think while I was there, we had 2 or 3, I think. I cannot remember all their names. And then, Captain, you ask the CFO at that stage was or were. Ms. Chalota responds, Mr. Martins. So it's the Director General, it's the Chief of Staff, it's the former PA to the Premier, it's the Assistant Appointment Secretary, and it's the Chief Financial Officer. Let's start with the Director General. Did you ever have any interview, witness interview, questioning of any kind with the Director General in the Premier's office?
Would that be Mr. Ramaphosa?
Whoever it was.
Well, he wasn't the genius.
Was it in relation to the asbestos contract?
Various relations.
And so you confirmed that you had a witness interview with the Director General, or was it a simple interview?
It was a questionnaire set up in Century for reply.
A questionnaire. So you never met with him in person?
No, I did a few times.
But in relation to the asbestos contract?
I've met him so many times. I had answered questions for a lot of things, so yes, I would say for the asbestos and other matters as well.
And was he interviewed as a state witness?
If I recall correctly, yes.
The second individual, the Chief of Staff, which she identifies as Miss Janet Kay. Was there an interview, a questionnaire, or any meeting with the Chief of Staff, Miss Janet Kay, by yourselves, Brigadier Gerber?
Well, I met with her, yes.
For the asbestos contract?
Not to say the asbestos directly, but indirectly, yes.
Indirectly would mean?
Information on electronic devices. Who was responsible for what we were sitting there.
Let me put my question in another way, Captain. Did you interview Ms. Janet Kay, the Chief of Staff, in the Premier's office as a state witness in the asbestos contract matter at any time?
Yes.
As a state witness?
Yeah.
Do you have any correspondence informing her that she's a state witness?
When she was asked questions relating to things. That is why I'm saying the questions that we had for her was relating to getting information where can we obtain what
Yes.
in connection with the asbestos contract.
Yes.
You understand? So you can't actually say she's a state witness.
Mhm.
She was providing information where we can collect what.
I'm referring
Ms.
to.
Macapella, sorry. Yes. Finish your sentence.
I was saying that I'm referring to communication similar to the one that Ms. Charlotta received, that as you are now aware, you are a state witness. Did she ever receive any such communication?
No, she didn't.
And the Director General, did he ever receive such communication?
No, also not.
Yes, I wanted to adjourn till 2:15.
Thank you.
Is that okay with you? Court will now adjourn.
Lord, before we proceed, if it may be just noted, it's been brought to my attention by the orderly that the witness is not feeling well. If we can just inquire of the
Yeah.
witness's health.
Yes, I must say I've noticed yesterday and today that he's coughing and he didn't look comfortable to me all the time. Captain, are you feeling okay? Are you feeling well, or are you feeling...
No, I'm fine. I just need to go to the doctor. I've got an appointment at 3:45. That's the latest I could get by. If it will suit the court, please.
Yes, no, I will certainly do whatever I can to assist.
Thank you.
How long will you need to get to the doctor?
About 15 minutes will be suffice. Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Bloemfontein is not that big.
Yeah, but there are many potholes.
That's true.
Well, I suggest we carry on for another hour until 3:15, and I think then we will adjourn for the day. Tomorrow we will only be sitting until 1 o'clock because I have to do some traveling myself. And then on Friday, as I've indicated earlier, we won't be sitting at all because then I'm at that conference against my will. But I will be at the conference on Friday.
Thank you, my Lord.
Ms. Macapella, you're welcome to proceed.
Thank you, my lord. Captain Khalid, I think we were still busy with the officials in the Office of the Premier. We had the Director General at page 28, the Chief of Staff, Janet Kay, at page 28 as well, the former PA to the Premier, Miriam or Maria, at page 38, Assistant Appointments Secretary, Ms. Malimela at page 46, and the Chief Financial Officer at page 48. And the evidence was that in relation to whether or not the first two received a letter informing them that they were state witnesses, such as the one that Ms. Cholota got, the Director General never received such a letter, and the Chief of Staff never received such a letter.
That's correct.
And in relation to interviews as state witnesses, the Director General of the Office of the Premier was never interviewed as a state witness, but perhaps another interview, but not as a state witness.
Well, he was interviewed to clarify certain aspects.
Yes.
There were affidavits obtained from him.
So he was interviewed for clarification purposes,
Yeah,
but never as a state witness.
not to say at this stage, yes.
And the Chief of Staff was interviewed for clarification purposes,
Yes.
but never a state witness. Do you recall when these interviews took place?
The DG, we saw him a few times, so I can't say it was since the beginning of the investigation, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Janet Kay, look, it would be difficult.
Okay.
No, I can't say exactly.
All right. Now, Ms. Cholota's evidence at page 28 and on the Director General as well as on the Chief of Staff was that they had a closer working relationship with him and reported to him directly more than she did as the mere PA in the Office of the Premier. Do you accept that?
Yes, I do.
Why were they not interviewed in the same manner that she was if they were even closer to the Premier than she was?
Well, the information obtained during the investigation, we did not find anything for which they needed to give direct answers to, as did Ms. Cholota.
And if my memory serves me correctly, Captain, what you did find in relation to Ms. Cholota was emails that she sent, correct?
That's correct.
And yet this Director General and the Chief of Staff never sent emails.
No, they did.
They did.
They did.
But the ones that they sent were fine.
Let me just clarify that. The emails that they were sent had nothing to do with our investigation, so we did not have access. We did do investigation. The emails relating to Ms. Chilota was directly involved with the asbestos matter.
Okay, and then the former PA, Miss Maria, that's at page 38. Did she ever receive a letter requesting her to be a state witness?
No, she did not.
Was she ever interviewed in relation to the asbestos contract?
No, she was not.
What is the reason for that?
If I'm correct, she left before the contract was awarded, if I'm correct. I'm not sure, but I think so.
I do not think that that is correct.
Yeah, it might be so.
Perhaps we could go back to tab R, Ms. Cholota's affidavit before the Zondo Commission. I think we can understand there when Ms. Maria was the PA. If we can turn to page 4, paragraph 19.
Say, Richard?
Annexure R,
Yes.
that would be Ms. Cholota's affidavit that was presented before the State Capture Commission.
Yes. Page?
Page 4. Or rather we can say page 5 at paragraph 21. She states that she commenced her employment on 1 August 2013. So you're saying this was before the asbestos contract was awarded?
Are we talking about Miss Matsubani?
No, this is Ms. Cholota.
Okay,
So
Ms. Chilota,
Ms. Matsubani was immediately before Ms. Cholota.
but that is why I'm saying
Yes.
she was not interviewed because she wasn't there during the awarding of the asbestos contract.
Yes. When was that awarded?
2014.
So the basis of the interview is whether the person was employed during the awarding of the asbestos contract.
Yeah.
And yet the Director General and the Chief of Staff, even though they were employed during the asbestos period, they were not interviewed.
They were interviewed relating to information we obtained during the investigation.
And then the Chief Financial Officer is mentioned at page 48 by Ms. Cholota. Was there any interview with the Chief Financial Officer?
Not in the respect of the asbestos, no.
Was the Chief Financial Officer ever sent a letter that they were a state witness in the asbestos contract?
No, they weren't. Or we weren't.
Now, I would think that the Chief Financial Officer of all people would be at the very least questioned regarding the asbestos contract, particularly because they dealt with contracts and the supply chain.
No.
No?
The Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Martins, is working at the Premier's office.
Yes.
The contract was awarded at the Department of Human Settlement.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with each other.
And yet it has something to do with the personal assistant.
She sent the emails.
She sent the emails that awarded the contract.
No, requested money.
For the contract?
No, no.
For the bursary scheme.
A few things. As I mentioned yesterday, for bursaries, travels, she requested money from contractors to which contract was awarded by state departments.
Yes. And the former PA never did this.
We didn't look into it. We investigated the asbestos.
Yes. So you
For
did
which-
not.
So for which she did not work during that period.
Yes. So am I correct in saying that there is no evidence that the former PA did or did not send emails because you did not look?
No, we did not look.
You did not
My
look.
Lord, if at this juncture, if State may object, this has been asked and answered repeatedly. If we may perhaps move on and this can be left for argument.
My
we're
Lord, I'm
dealing
pressing
with-
and pushing. Pressing and pushing the witness.
Exactly. Sorry, my lord.
You have answered the question, have you?
I did.
Thank you. You may move on.
Thank you, my lord.
So to summarize, Captain Collins, of the multiple members of the Premier's office that were indicated to you during this interview, not a single one of them received communication to become a state witness, nor were any of them ever state witnesses or interviewed by you for the purposes of being a state witness, correct?
A possible state witness, yes.
Yes. And so the only individual in the Premier's office that was interviewed and called to be a state witness is Ms. Cholota, correct?
If I recall, yes, she's the only.
She's the only one. Now, in keeping with this, could I please ask, so I've asked about the individuals, but I'm also interested in this, what you're saying about the investigation, because the asbestos contract was also investigated by the Zondo Commission, by the Special Investigating Unit, by the Public Protector's Office, and also by the Auditor General before your investigation, correct?
They might have been involved before. I know the Auditor General was involved before.
Before. And there's nowhere or document that we have where Ms. Cholota is either named or directly implicated in any wrongdoing by those institutions. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'm not directed by my investigation through other institutions.
And I understand that. However, the question still remains. There's no document that we are aware of or report in which any of these institutions implicated Ms. Cholota in any wrongdoing in relation to the asbestos contract, correct?
I can say yes, but you must also remember they only looked at certain phases of the asbestos contract. They didn't go into detail like we did.
Okay, so the only institution that went into detail about the asbestos contract is the Directorate for Priority Crimes in Bloemfontein. The Special Investigating Unit did not do that. The Zondo Commission definitely did not do that. The Auditor General did not do that. The Public Protector did not do that. The only institution would be your institution.
That is correct.
That is correct. Could we turn to page 62 of Exhibit 11? Now we'll get to the travel questions, but prior to this line of questioning, Ms. Cholota was being asked about the Premier's travel, as well as whether or not the Premier has a personal email. But then at page 62, at line 17, you ask her a question out of the blue. This question has not been asked prior to the interview, and to note we're on page 62 of the transcript. Could you please read that question into the record, please, Captain? Line 17.
Captain Collins, okay. Why would contractors who receive contracts from various government departments inform the Premier's office that they have received their payments?
Further, please.
Ms. Cholota, I have no idea. Why would contractors inform the office of the Premier? Captain Collins, yeah. Ms. Cholota, that they have received contracts. Captain Collins, no, that they have received payments from the contracts that was awarded to them. Ms. Cholota, I do not think so. I do not recall speaking to any contractor or sending it to my email address. Captain Collins, yeah. Ms. Cholota, I do not recall such. Captain Collins, there is such emails. Ms. Cholota, Captain Collins, that is why I'm asking you. Ms. Cholota, I do not recall such. Captain Collins, okay, let's intervenes. Ms. Cholota, they do not report to the office of the Premier.
Thank you, Captain. You state there that there are emails that I suppose were in your possession, wherein contractors who received contracts from various government departments would inform the Premier's office that they had received their payments. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Could you kindly point us to these emails? I don't recall that I've ever seen them in the record, but perhaps I'm mistaken.
I can't provide those emails. It's part of the, let's say, the bigger case, part of the FDI contract, FDI audit. It's not submitted here.
Part of the FTI audit, the one dated 6 June 2023.
I can't say. I'm not the author of that report.
Right. But you cannot point us to any such emails.
Excuse me?
You cannot point us to any such emails currently.
No, I can't.
And you could not point Ms. Chalota to any emails on that day.
I only mentioned that we do have such emails.
I put it to you, Captain Carlos, that such emails actually do not exist. What is your response to this?
Also, that is your opinion, no?
I also put it to you, Captain Carlos, that this statement to Ms. Chalota, that there are such emails that exist, was to have her confirm something that was not a fact, but that would have become a fact if she had confirmed it. What do you say to that?
I do not agree.
I also put it to you, Captain Carlos, that this was in fact not the truth. There aren't emails in which service providers in the Asbestos contract email the Premier's office to say they have received payments of their contracts. What do you say to that?
I also do not agree.
Now, you then keep pressing her in the paragraphs that follow. Can we start reading from 16, line 16, page 63, line 16.
Captain Collins, should you not think it strange for a contractor to receive the contract from some or other government department? It does not say who, which department. Mr. Walter, I have not received such. I do not know. Captain Collins, no, there is. There is. Mr. Walter, from which company? I do not recall. Captain Collins, okay, we will go through those, but there is definitely. But okay, your opinion, why would such a contractor send such emails? Mr. Walter, I have no idea.
Thank you, Captain. Would this not have been the opportune time for you to place such emails before Ms. Chalota?
It would have been, yes.
And you had stated that you travel with all your documents and that you traveled with those documents to the United States, or did you leave those behind?
Well, if it was relevant, the emails, I should have had it with me.
And if you had had it with you, which we submit you did not, would this not have been the time to put them before her?
Most probably, yes.
And so I put it to you, Captain Carlitz, that if you had the emails, you would have put them before her, but you did not have the emails because they do not exist. What do you say to that?
Well, the one part to say I did not put it in front of her, yes, but the fact that I did not have it, I can't say that is correct.
And so you did have them.
You're placing words in my mouth. As I said, if it's there, it's part of the forensic report of the FTI.
Yes, but we're looking for quite a definitive answer here, Captain. It's either you had the emails with you, or you did not have the emails with you. It can't be a
Well, according
middle
to
ground.
this, I did not have it with me.
You did not have them with you, but you indicated to the witness that you had them,
That I had such emails, yes.
that you had such emails. Now, I put it to you, Captain Carlitz, that you did not have the Zondo Commission affidavit before the witness, but you expected answers in relation to the Zondo Commission. And you did not have emails about contractors emailing about payments, but you asked the witness. This is improper conduct. What do you say to that?
Do not agree.
What do you say to the, if I put it to you that it's unconstitutional conduct?
Do not agree.
Now, in your cross-examination, you were quite emphatic that you do not deal in hypotheticals, that you need facts.
Yes.
Now, you put a hypothetical situation to her though. Let's start at page 64, right at the top. Yes, please, Captain.
Brigadier Gerber, what would you do with the email if it comes to you? Because you said earlier on that you intervenes, Mr. Lota, didn't say indistinct. Brigadier Gerber, scrutinize all the mails. You take it and then you take it to the relevant department. Mr. Lota, if I do not know what to do with it, I would go to Ms. Janet Kay and the Director General. Brigadier Gerber, and if someone says addresses it directly to the Premier to say whatever, thank you, or I have received my payment, or whatever, what would you do with that email? Mr. Lota, still via Janet Kay and intervenes. Brigadier Gerber, why would you take it to Janet Kay because it is directly addressed to the Premier? Mr. Lota, that is what we normally, that is the procedure of the office, because it will be something that I do not know how to handle. It or it is like nothing that I can handle. I will like mention it. I received this from so places. Like okay noted. Give it to the Premier or no, the Director General is the one responsible for this. It depends on the nature of the business. Captain Collins, are you aware of the emails that you sent on behalf of the Premier? Mr. Lota, to who?
You can stop there. Now that's in relation to the contractors that it was alleged send emails to the Premier's office to say, we got paid for this contract. Now in this next section, it's in relation to the business people. If we could start reading page 65, line 3, my apologies.
Mr. Lota, for the to business people, Captain Collins, yeah. Mr. Lota, for school funds, Captain Collins, yeah, stuff like that. Mr. Lota, yes, I am aware. Captain Collins, now, were there any subs certificates issued to those companies for tax purposes? Mr. Lota, Brigadier Gerber, I think it is a Section 18 certificate. Captain Collins, yeah, I think it is a Section 18. Mr. Lota, I do not recall. By whom? By the government or by whom? Captain Collins, well, obviously the donation should go to a specific account. You cannot just donate. It has to go to a specific account. Mr. Lota, the ones that I was dealing with as directly to the university. Captain Collins, so you request the businessman you requested money from was directly deposited into intervenes. Mr. Lota, the university. Captain Collins, universities. Mr. Lota, if I am asking for a business person to assist, it is either an individual or a list of students. It will be directly to the office. There is no any other account that I personally use from all the requests that I used. Captain Collins, no. Can I just re-explain to you if I may? Mr. Lota, Captain Collins, you sent these emails on the instruction of Mr. Magashima. Mr. Lota, the Office of the Premier. Captain Collins, Office of the Premier. Mr. Lota, yes. Captain Collins, honestly, if you say the Office of the Premier, you have to be specific now. Brigadier Gerber, there should be a person. Captain Collins, yeah. Brigadier Gerber, this office cannot intervene. Mr. Lota, the Office of the Premier would be us. When we are assisting people who come to the Office of the Premier, to me, it is the Office of the Premier who is assisting them, right? Captain Collins, okay, but you must remember we cannot talk to as an organization. The Premier's office is we have to put it to a person, you understand? Mr. Lota, okay. Captain Collins, so when you send these mails, saying in the mails on request of the Premier, you are requesting a donation saying for studies for this and this person. Mr. Lota, okay then, intervenes. Captain Collins, indistinct. Mr. Lota, Captain Collins, do you mean the Premier told you to write an email to businessmen saying, listen, I am asking for donations for this and this, and the students are at this and this university? Mr. Lota, okay, that is not how I did it. Captain Collins, what I did was request from the office of the Premier, because the people who would ask help would come to the office of the Premier. So me handling it, I was handling it as the office of the Premier. I was not saying specifically the Premier said you must help this person. Because even when I asked, it was a request, not a directive, that you must help these people. Captain Collins, okay. Mr. Lota, I would ask if it is possible that you can assist us with this kind of student and so forth. Captain Collins, so you are basically telling me you used own initiative to see who is in need and then request assistance. Mr. Lota, all of them, not my own initiative. We will have different students who are coming to the office. We would draft intervenes. Brigadier Gerber. Now what he is trying to say is, remember earlier on we asked you, did you take executive decisions, and you said no. Mr. Lota, Brigadier Gerber. Now someone coming to the office and requesting a bursary or whatever. Mr. Lota, Captain Collins. Now it is an executive decision for you to approach a company to say, please, would you donate, even if it is on the office of the Premier. Mr. Lota, Captain Collins, money for a student. Mr. Lota, Captain Collins, are you saying that you took those decisions by yourself to approach those companies and ask them for money? Mr. Lota, because I intervenes. Captain Collins, not informing the Premier. Mr. Lota, no, the Premier would know and Ms. Janet Kay would know, but it was the procedure of financial assistance that has been going on in the office of the Premier.
Thank you, Captain. If we could please turn back to tab R, the same affidavit that was presented to the Zondo Commission. If we could turn to page 9, please. Now, this is what Ms. Cholota deposed to in the affidavit, but it is also what she told the chairperson of the Zondo Commission, the then Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court, Chief Justice Zondo. If we could please start reading from the heading, paragraphs 34, 35, 36, and 37.
Free State Department of Education and related correspondence. The bursary scheme versus financial assistance. At the onset, I must draw a differentiation between the bursary scheme run by and disseminated by the Free State Department of Education, and financial assistance disseminated to students in need by the Office of the Premier. The Department of Education has a bursary scholarship scheme which provides for bursaries to well-performing and deserving students in need that are based in the Free State or that seek to undertake study in institutions based in the Free State. The bursary scheme is managed via a database created by the Free State Training and Development Institute, which institute was in a specifically created unit tasked with monitoring applications, awarding bursaries to qualifying students, and creating a database for unemployed graduates. Through this is an initiative of the Department of Education. Many students would still approach the Premier's office either for more information on bursaries or for assistance when the Department of Education has reached to limit of students it could afford to award bursaries to.
Please continue.
I am advised that it is as a result of the above limit and the resultant inquiries by well-deserving students in desperate need for financial assistance that the Premier, Mr. Magashule, elected to start assisting needy students who had good academic results with aid in the form of financial assistance or provision of resources such as laptops, etc. This was done by fundraising from various businesses, businessmen and women alike, that resided in or did business in the Free State province. It was the person that was tasked with liaising with different businesses and business persons in relation to this fundraising and assisting needy students. My most common correspondence would be providing the business with a relevant account numbers of the different educational institutions and or requesting proofs of payment from the businesses in order to forward same to the universities, financial departments, or the students.
Thank you, Captain. And then 41, please. My apologies.
No. I can continue. During my 6 years at the Office of the Premier, over and above referring students for assistance from the Department of Education bursary scheme, the Premier's Office itself provided financial assistance to students from tertiary students all over the country, including but not limited to the University of the Free State, UFS, the Central University of Technology, CUT, University of KwaZulu-Natal, UKZN, Durban University of Technology, TDUT, Monash University, University of Cape Town, UCT, University of South Africa, UNISA, Fall University of Technology, VAL, Mankosa, a distance learning educational institution, Northwest University, NWU.
Thank you, Captain. Now, Ms. Chalota explained to the Zondo Commission why it was that she was reaching out to businessmen and businesswomen and why it was that she was asking for financial assistance for students, correct?
That's correct.
And then she also explained that to you, that she did not receive this money in her account and that she would always have them deposited directly to the university. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And when we were looking at the exhibit, the FTI consulting report yesterday, we looked at a page that set out the student numbers as well as the payments that were sent to specific universities. Do you recall that?
I recall such a column, yes.
Now, is there anything or anywhere where Ms. Chalota received any of these funds, these particular funds, to her account?
I did not do the financial investigation.
You did not do the financial investigation. But are you aware of any way that Ms. Chalota received these funds into her account?
No.
Now, the exact same information that was given to you in this interview was given to the Zondo Commission. The Zondo Commission had investigators, it had lawyers, it had the former Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court as its chair, and it looked at this information and did not come to the conclusion that this amounted to corruption, money laundering, and fraud. But you're saying you looked at the same information and that was not your conclusion.
I did not come to that conclusion.
And also, the Special Investigating Unit also looked at this information and did not come to the conclusion that Ms. Chalota ought to be charged with money laundering, corruption, and fraud. Or did they not look at this?
As I mentioned previously,
Yes.
they only looked at certain aspects of the Asbestos contract.
Mm-hmm.
They did not look into any financials related. They
Yes.
did not go into transfers of money or anything like that. That is what we did additionally.
Perhaps I'm mistaken, Captain, but did the SIU not recommend that some of the accused in this matter be charged criminally?
The SIU to us?
To it in its report. I think the report, if we can go to tab G, my lord, tab G. Page 4, page 4. Tab G, page 4. The tab is the tab is the application that we filed before the Constitutional Court, and in there we make specific reference to the reports, and the reports are cited in the footnote. So if you look at paragraph 8, it states there that the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into State Capture Report, IV Volume 2, dealt almost exclusively with the Free State Asbestos project, and in examining the evidence and making its recommendations, comprehensively studied and referenced inter alia 8.1, the Auditor General's report on the asbestos project, 8.2, the Public Protector's report in terms of Section 182(1)(b) of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Protectors Act, and the reference for that report is Report 147 of the Public Protector. 8.3, investigations and the subsequent report by the Special Investigating Unit on the Free State Province Department of Human Settlements and the Asbestos Project. And if you see there, Captain Collis, the reference to this report that I just referred to is R39 of 2019. That means it's a publicly available document. The SIU report.
Okay.
Now, my question was, wasn't some of the recommendations that were made by the SIU report that some of the individuals that are accused in this matter ought to be charged criminally?
I can't recall such.
I put it to you that it was, and that they had looked at the financials and had made recommendations on which individuals ought to be charged. And Ms. Cholota was not one of those individuals.
I'll take your word for it.
Thank you, Captain. Now, we've dealt with the contractors and the fact that we cannot have an email produced in front of us that was referenced in the interview, and also the emails to the business people. Now, Captain Khalid, one of the main accusations against Ms. Cholota in relation to the interview was that on this particular day, she was not cooperative. Can you kindly point us to any instance in this entire interview wherein Ms. Cholota is being uncooperative?
If you read it like this, you would say no, but it's the demeanor that made the final decision to give the warning on the first day.
Her demeanor.
Yes.
Can the same not be said for your and Brigadier Gerbert's demeanor, that it was an intimidating demeanor?
I was quite polite, as well as Brigadier Gerbert.
And can it not be said that she was in turn quite polite?
No.
So she was uncooperative and you were polite and you were also not intimidating. Is that correct?
Yes.
There was also the allegation that she was, if my memory serves me correctly, in your examination in chief, you told this court that Ms. Cholota was arrogant and aggressive. In fact, that latter term, that Ms. Cholota was aggressive, has now made it as a news headline. Where in this interview can we see her being arrogant and aggressive?
As I said, it's the demeanor.
Any particular words that she used that indicate that she was arrogant and aggressive?
is the way a person presents himself.
So, no particular words.
No, how a person acts can't be described in words,
Yes,
in a transcript.
yes. Which is why you record an interview, no?
Say again?
Which is why it's important to record an interview.
Yes.
So that that can come through. The demeanor. But you don't have such interview.
No, we don't.
I put it to you, Captain Kalitz, that Ms. Cholota was nothing but accommodating to the investigators, owing to the fact that she was in fact scared in that interview. What do you say to that?
I won't say scared. At no stage during our discussions did you give any indication of such thing. Could you repeat the first part that you asked, please?
I put it to you that there's no indication that Ms. Cholota was, now I've forgotten my line.
No,
My
this didn't put
apologies.
in that she was accommodating.
Oh, that she was accommodating to the, that she was accommodating, nothing but accommodating to the investigators, owing to the fact that she was scared for much of the interview.
Well, that's why I say the scared part I would not agree with, but accommodating, yes, she was.
She was accommodating.
Yes.
Now, we've already put it to you that she was not there voluntarily.
Yeah, you put it to me.
Yes. And we put it to you that she was in a state that one could imagine was not of a dignity, not a dignified state. She was unwashed and she was unprepared, according to what she told you, which we read a couple of hours ago.
Well, all that is here, he said she needed to go and bath.
Yes, that would mean she did not bath. She said, "You just woke me up." That was her words. We can go back to it.
No, I remember that.
Yes.
But once again, I didn't wake her up and I didn't have the discussion with the resident.
Yes. However, for all intents and purposes, we can accept that she was unwashed.
I won't say that.
Okay. For all intents and purposes, we can definitively say that she was unprepared.
Yes.
And for all intents and purposes, we can also say she was intimidated.
No.
I put it to you, Captain Kalitz, that it cannot be that a young woman, 33 years of age, with 3 or 4 FBI agents and 2 Hawks officials at the crack of dawn can be said to be not intimidated.
No, surprised, but not intimidated.
Surprised but not intimidated. Surprised at what?
Maybe someone coming that early to my door.
What about someone that official coming early to my door when I am a South African in the United States? What about that?
When you're asking me how would I
Yes,
handle it,
yes,
I'm a different person and you can't ask that for me.
right. Okay, I put it to you, Captain Kalitz, that the FBI presenting unannounced at Ms. Cholota's door was an intimidating tactic by yourself and Brigadier Gerber to Ms. Cholota. What do you say to that?
That is your view now.
And I put it to you that the intention behind such intimidation was that Ms. Cholota would be intimidated into making these incriminatory statements against Mr. Magashule in the interview. What do you say to that?
I do not agree.
And I put it to you that the intimidation by the FBI was so that Ms. Cholota could be intimidated into incriminating herself in the interview. What do you say to that?
I'm not aware that the FBI intimidated her.
Certainly the FBI was intimidating to her.
Well, that is what she says, yes.
Yes. Are the Hawks not intimidating? They seem quite
We would
intimidating
like
to
to
me.
be.
Yes. So it was, and it was all men, except for Miss Bean.
That is not my choice who accompanies us.
Yes, but it was all men, except for Miss Bean.
Yes, if I recall correctly.
So it was about 4 men that are such that they are FBI agents presenting at her door unannounced, correct?
3 FBI agents.
3 FBI agents. Does one additional or one less FBI agent make it intimidating or not?
Well, ma'am, you're making an issue of it. Then the amount is yes.
Yes. Thank you, Captain. Now, on your evidence, it was after this interview that you telephoned the senior state prosecutor to tell him that Ms. Chilota had been uncooperative. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I put it to you, Captain Kallis, that there is nothing in this interview that indicates non-cooperation except that she would not implicate Mr. Mahashule. What do you say to that?
That is not true.
I put it to you, Captain Kallis, that she cooperated by answering every single question that was put to her, despite the fact that you had indicated to her that if she does not want to answer a question, she does not have to. What do you say to that?
Just repeat that for me, please.
I put it to you that Ms. Choloda cooperated and answered every single question that you put to her, despite the fact that you had indicated to her that she need not answer a question if she does not want to.
Are we now only talking about this first day?
Just this first day.
Well, she did answer. That I would agree with, but not directly.
Not directly.
Yes.
Can you point to us? Can you point us to anywhere where there was an indirect answer to a question? Just anything.
I
Anything.
can mention it. I can look at it.
Yes.
The question that you asked about the instruction on the emails,
Yes.
where she would say the office of the premier, we also said that the institution, organization cannot give an instruction.
Yes.
You cannot use a wording, the premier, and then say it's an office with a lot of people in it.
Yes. But is it not an office with a lot of people in it? I think we just ascertained that there was a director general, chief of staff.
I agree there's a lot of people working there.
Yes.
But if you mention it on an email, the premier requests,
Yes.
well, that tells me it's an individual. It's
Yes.
not an office.
Yes.
And I would like to know who she's talking about.
Yes. And the fact that she did not say it was Ace Makashula who told me to send the email, that was uncooperative.
No, it's on paper, it's clear there.
Yes.
You just wanted her to tell us who she's talking about.
Did you just want her to tell you who she's talking about, or did you just want her to tell you that she's talking about Ace Makashula?
Well, he was the premier.
Thank you, Captain Khalid. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, yesterday, during your cross-examination, I put the question to you, who is the individual that specifically told the United States that Ms. Choloda was a fugitive from justice? Do you recall that line of questioning?
We talked about the fugitive status, yes.
Yes. And your response was that it is the office of Advocate Demeanor. Do you remember that?
I recall something like that, yes.
And when I asked you to be specific and name a particular individual, you said it was any of the individuals within that office, and you mentioned Mr. Boertes. Do you recall that?
Yes, I gave a name, yes.
Yes. But you did not give us a specific name as to who exactly sent a message to the United States that Ms. Choloda was a fugitive. Do you recall that?
I do.
Were you being indirect in your answer?
No, I wasn't.
You were being truthful.
Yes.
However, when it comes to Ms. Choloda, and she responds it was the office of the premier, she was being indirect.
The difference is I gave names.
You gave names.
Yes.
And these individuals, Janet Kay, the Director General Rally Kotswane, Mam Miriam, Appointment Secretary Malemela, the CFO Ms. Martins, those are not names?
Yeah, but it wasn't relating to the emails.
According to whom?
According to the emails.
But was she not saying the office of the premier?
Yeah, but it's not linked to an individual.
Are these not the individuals that comprise the office of the premier?
You're trying to put words in my mouth, similar
Yes.
to what you said I did here.
Yes. Thank you, Captain Collins. Now, we come back to the very purpose for this cross-examination and very purpose for this trial within a trial. It is to prove that there was no reasonable and probable cause to charge Ms. Cholota, and that the reason she was charged was because she would not cooperate with you on this date of the interview. Do you recall that?
Do I recall that?
Yes, do you recall that that is the reason that
Well,
we
that
are...
is what you said.
Yes, yes. Now, it was after this day of questioning that it was decided that Ms. Cholota would be charged. Is that correct?
No.
Was it not a conversation between the three of you that if she did not cooperate, then she would be charged?
The next day, yes.
She would be charged the next day, but the conversation was on this day, was it not?
This it was a discussion.
Yes. So I repeat my question. Was it not on this day that the discussion and the decision was taken that if she does not cooperate on the next day, that she would be charged?
That is correct.
That is correct. And was the basis for that discussion not the information that you got from Ms. Cholota on this day?
Well, I won't say the information, but direct answers and
Yes.
direct questions, direct answers to questions.
Yes. Now, could it be, or can we say that reasonable and probable cause arose on this day, according to you,
Relating to what now?
to the charges, money laundering, corruption, fraud?
Well, that decision is not mine, as I said.
Yes. When did reasonable and probable cause arise?
You want the
My
decision?
Lord, if I may object at this stage, we have addressed this point. Also, is this the correct witness to be addressing this from? As we are now inferring the reasonable and probable cause of the charging thereof of an accused person, not the suspect as such. The interviewing was done with the suspect, and now we are going to charging as well as reasonable and probable cause. The state will allege this is not the correct witness to address whether or not when the legal terminology of reasonable and probable cause is formed.
Well, I understood him to say that the specific charges were not within his domain.
Indeed so, my Lord, but we are
That is
still
how I understood him to say.
Indeed so, my Lord, but we are still questioning him with regards to that now, my Lord.
Yes.
Thank you, my Lord.
Now, Captain Khaled, on what basis did Ms. Cholota become a suspect on the following day?
The demeanor was the same as the previous day,
Yes,
by not answering questions directly.
yes. And because she did not answer questions correctly, she became a suspect.
Directly.
Directly, she became a suspect.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
No, that is when we warn. The final decision to charge is not mine.
Yes.
Yes.
But a suspect is not a suspect in limbo. A suspect eventually gets charged, no?
Not the same.
Not to say?
No.
So she was simply a suspect.
No.
And what was she suspected of?
Being involved in asking money from contractors.
So money laundering
Well, that will be part of it, yes.
and corruption
Yes.
and fraud.
Yes.
So she was a suspect, if I'm understanding you correctly. She became a suspect because you decided that she was a suspect. Perhaps we can go to the warning statement. I think it clearly states, since it was filled out by you, it explains to us properly. HI annexure AA2 on the page that starts with statement regarding interview with a witness
With a witness.
or with a suspect.
Where do I find that warning statement again?
Tab HI, my lord,
Thank you.
annexure AA2.
Thank you.
And that would be the third page, statement regarding interview with the suspect. Captain Collins, can you reconfirm that you are the author of this document?
I am.
And could you kindly read into the record once more the date that that document is dated?
That will be the 23rd of September 2021.
And that would be the second day of questioning, correct?
That is correct.
After the date that we've just looked at on the 22nd.
Yes.
Now, there is a box there that states that I informed the suspect. Could you please read that into the record?
I informed the suspect that I hold the above-mentioned rank in the South African Police Service and that I am investigating the alleged offences, corruption, money laundering, theft and fraud that was committed at the Free State Department of Human Settlement and the Office of the Free State Premier during 2014 till 2017.
Now, the state appears to want to separate these being a suspect and then the eventual charges. But do the eventual charges not correspond with what you've written here? Are they not of corruption, money laundering, theft and fraud?
Oh, that is originally, yes.
Yes. And so this is what you suspected Ms. Chalota of.
That's correct.
And so my question was, on what basis did you suspect her of these crimes?
An involvement, as I said, during the requesting of money from contractors, the money paid over, the communication between herself and contractors, being part of that, as well as
My Lord, I'm not sure if it might be an opportune. I don't want to interrupt, but we are
Just one
seeing
final
the
question.
witness.
No, it's fine. Can I just have, I don't do my watches when she worked together with other officials in this request for money itself.
Yes. And finally, Captain Carlos, before we break, if we could turn back to the same tab HI, page 33, please.
Page 30.
Page 33, my lord. Tab
Thank you.
HI, page 33.
Thank you.
And you confirm once again, Captain, that this is your affidavit
Yes, it is.
and that it was submitted, signed by yourself before the Constitutional Court?
Yes.
Could you read into the record once again paragraph 133?
The fact that Mr. Rota did not attribute certain instructions to her former boss had the result that she was then treated as a suspect in relation to some of the same charges Mr. Makashule, her former boss, was facing.
And that is your testimony, not the defense's, correct?
Yes.
And you state there, and if we read it with what we have just looked at here, that the fact that Ms. Charlotta did not attribute certain instructions to her former boss had the result that she was then treated as a suspect in relation to some of the same charges Mr. Makashule, her former boss, was facing. Is that correct?
That is correct, what it says.
Now, why is it a stretch for us to then state that the reason why she was charged was not because she's guilty of money laundering corruption charges, but because she would not implicate Ace Magashule in wrongdoing, when you clearly stated yourself in 133.
You can't see how you get to that conclusion.
Thank you, Captain Khalid. Now, the first thing one has to prove to motivate for an extradition is that there is reasonable and probable cause to sustain a charge. I put it to you that the improper conduct of yourself and Brigadier Gerber, as well as the unlawful and unconstitutional actions, mean that there was no reasonable and probable cause to sustain a charge. What do you say to that?
I do not agree.
And what do you say to the fact that I put it to you that the only reason she was charged, the only reason for the charges against Ms. Cholota is because she would not implicate Ace Magashule in wrongdoing? What do you say to that?
I do not agree.
And finally, before I close, Captain Khalid, the United States based its decision to extradite Ms. Cholota on the basis that South African officials, yourself included, assured it that there was reasonable and probable cause, but there was no such reasonable cause. What do you say to that?
They made the decision themselves.
Based on the information that was given to them by South African officials, including yourself, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, my lord. I've got no further questions, my lord.
Thank you. Captain, as far as you know, can you attend again tomorrow?
I will be here.
I don't know what your doctor will say, but as far as you are concerned, you say you will be here.
I will be here.
Yes. The court will now adjourn to 9:30 tomorrow morning, the 8th of May 2025.
Ja, morgen. Ja. Seriously. Run and drop the cup. I'm not here. Okay, now we're going
That's your good
I
Thank you. But now you know, now that I know he's sick. I wouldn't have given it.
I saw the
Would have messed up on purpose. No, they're wrong.
Yeah. It wouldn't have because they didn't have my choice. So I got the like that's technical from him.
Yes, you want to.
Guys, I'll see you tomorrow.
Did you see that one? The one where they said she was aggressive. The one where they said I was like, that's why I was like,
See, I didn't break microphones down today. I didn't break anything down.
Oh, yes.
I sat very still.
I know.